conditioning on.
Yeah, 2 hours. Stop it.
Doing the crowd shot.
Sergio, would you mind shutting that door? Kelly, if that's good warm in here, that's back.
Yeah, I'll do it.
So there are chairs here, guys. Those tables, those tables, those tables. Because you got to know that there are people who will still show up late and will want to stand there.
A couple of chairs here.
Good morning. Thanks, Matt, for saying that. This is the only one. So, before we start, I'd like to introduce a few folks. So I want to let you know that I had a lot of trouble sleeping last night because I knew that I was going to have to introduce people today, and one particular individual I practiced at 4 a.m. as long as I possibly could, and I just couldn't get it. So I'm not going to pronounce his full name today, and that way we won't get confused.
It's paid. It's paid.
I personally believe whenever you nominate someone to be president, it should be a name they can easily pronounce. So Brent, I think you should run for president next year because it's Hay. That's right. So let's introduce our guests. First of all, our president and VP. Directors Brent Pay, Mike Lowen, Dave Fable. Chris Miller is not here, I don't think. Oh, there he is, Chris. Sorry, I was looking for you. And our EO, Lynette Kiowski. Actually, get you to do that again. So I was a director for 10 years, so I have a great appreciation of how much time these folks have put in. Forget the issue that we're talking today. Just in running the entire board, it's a lot, and quite frankly, it's more now than it was then. And this project, our management team has mirrored calendars. So I see every meeting that Dave goes to that has to do with Realtors of BC, so I know that all of these folks are going to those same meetings. And Anthony is going to a heck of a lot more meetings when you take into his role as president. So let's give them a really good round of applause and thank them for what they've done. So this is how this is going to look today. Anthony's going to come up and give us a brief history of how we got here. Okay, so a little bit about Realtors of BC. We are just going to essentially field questions, and I say we, the directors and anyone that can answer a question logically will do it. And then we finish up today. Wade and I are going to stand 2 flip charts, and we're going to have pros and cons, and we're going to write them down. And that should theoretically give you a good overview of what Realtors of BC is all about. So you'll get both sides, because we're going to ask for your feedback on that. And I will tell you that there was a smaller group that met with the board 2 weeks ago, 13 people that work in our company, and at the end of the day, that's what we did. We wrote down the pros and cons, and it came down to a pretty easy way of looking at the whole picture of where we are at. So let's start off with a little history where we're at.
Thank you very much, Francis. So I know that some of you would have already seen a presentation before, and so I'm going to keep it pretty brief. And also we passed out some timeline sheets that kind of give you a history of time that's brought us from where we started to where we are today. But in a nutshell, it started about 2 years ago. 2 years ago at a meeting of all the boards of directors from all the boards across the province. And where the initial discussion was about the Journey of Discovery, which was an initiative started by DCRAA to go out and look at the industry, engage with members and boards all across the province to help determine what kind of direction made sense and what kind of projects and initiatives could be undertaken to better the industry, to help ensure the ongoing relevance of realtors, the profession of real estate, and how can we stay relevant and move forward with the consuming public in regards to our industry. Key point that was brought up at that point was how can we actually affect any of these potential changes or projects or initiatives on a provincial basis to move things forward for our industry. And in that process, a number of ideas were put forward that had indicated our inability under our current structure to actually be able to affect any large-scale change. There had been, we were subsequently given presentations on initiatives from CREA that had attempted to do the same thing, and it failed because of the structure of real estate as it exists today, and other examples from a provincial level that, that really identified the same thing. It identified that we've got 11 different boards and a provincial association that all operate independently, and that if we were ever to get an initiative underway that would be to the benefit of all realtors, trying to get 11 different boards and a provincial association on the same page at the same time to actually make that change has proven ineffective. We haven't been able to do it in the past. So the presidents of every board across the province met for the first time, not the first time, they met for the first time on this initiative to talk about what could be done. And what was agreed upon unanimously at the beginning was for the industry, for us to actually analyze where we're all at. And so every board was involved in the process of looking at how each board operates, the services they provide, how we affect our business, and how we provide services to our members. Subsequent to that, that's when that was all identified, that's when we got to the point of then looking at what could be done better. And that's when the task force and the project teams were put together to actually look at all the different options as to how we might operate better than we do today. And as you'll look at the timeline and see, a year and more of time and resources of analysis was done as to where we are, what could be, and then narrowing it down and fine-tuning it to the proposal that's being brought to every realtor within this proposal for a vote on December 6th. So all this to say, trying to impress upon the amount of work and time and hours and resources that have been put into looking at the pros and cons. And trust me, there have been tons of pros and cons that have been identified in this process. And every single one of them has been addressed at the time of for example, at the President's Working Group table. The con comes along, we try to address it, and in the end, to the best of our ability, have addressed every concern that's been brought forth to the best of our ability. So, in the end, we have a proposal that has been presented. It's on our Realtors of BC website, all the details of exactly what the proposal is, the structure, the fee structure, the governance model, the service delivery. It's all been detailed out, and that's what's being proposed. So there is an actual proposal moving forward. So our goal now is to just make sure that everybody understands what it is, that anybody that has concerns about how it's been developed, that we can answer to that, and to take any further input that anybody has, that any members have, and actually put that into the process to make sure that we address it moving forward. So there's a little history, where we started, where we are today, and now we're here to facilitate and answer questions.
Yeah, just to add a few things, folks. I came on the board about a year ago, and like many people in the room, I, at that point in time, was fairly uninformed about anything to do with the initiative at all. So I went out to our meetings earlier this year in Kamloops with a completely open mind about whether I was going to be for the proposal or against it. Keeping in mind at that point I had done literally no due diligence about it at all. And as I got to Kamloops, and these meetings were about the initiative, I got to Kamloops and all 11 boards were there, BCREA was there. And as I saw the work that had been put in prior, over the 1 year prior, and got a much better idea of where we were going to go with it, and having an extensive background in business, everything kind of worked and came together for me. And I would have been in a tough spot had that not happened, because being new to the board and not supporting an initiative, and that's not why I supported it, by the way, it just made total sense. And we are very archaic. If you were to go out today and form a business model for organized real estate in a province, it would look nothing like what we have today. We have 11 kind of arms dangling in the wind in the way of boards. We can't make a decision. That's why we've got, that's why we've had the year we've had when it comes to things like, losing self-regulation, everything that came down, the assignments, the IAG proposals, all this stuff is going on, and we're not even at the table because we don't have a decision-making body at the top of organized real estate in our province. We need to change that at the very, very least. And to me, this proposal, that one particular item trumps everything, and we do have cons and we do have pros in addition to that, but we have got to get in a position where we control our destiny. We are not there today. We are not even close to being there. So we have, out of the 11 boards, we have 6 that are going to be voting. That 6 represents 86% of our membership, which is a critical mass by a fair long shot. So, and keep in mind, the only board that was out from the start was Victoria. The other boards that eventually opted out, they opted out when we got to the point where we delayed the vote from June to December. They did not want to incur the extra expense in doing that. And at that point, the assignment thing was brewing, and I think they just had a taste of it, but they were fully in prior to that. So we have got a lot of interest in moving this initiative forward. And I think when it comes down to the vote date and everything, I think we needed that extra time to get the other branches, because we had moved along a fair ways in OMREP, but a lot of the other boards had not moved very far, so it was important that we give them that extra time. And it's important that we take this whole thing and answer questions today, and just be prepared to vote on December 6th. So I guess we'll open up for Q&A.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll ask one question beforehand. How many people in this room went to the website? So if you haven't been there yet, go. You may not like what's there, you may like what's there, but it is a really good website. They've done a good job of answering most questions. So let's open the floor.
So these boards that,
Yeah.
these boards that jumped out, they're just living by the sword and dying by the sword. They'll have they're going to obviously be along with whatever we all do.
He's questioning about what's going to happen with the boards that are out.
They're not. If we all vote yes, they're not going to still be on their own, right?
They will be on their own. Anthony, you wanna?
Yeah, it's, at this point, every board is having a vote, every board that's involved, and the vote is on their own. So OMRED's voting for OMRED, and Northern's voting for Northern. The boards that are not participating at this point, they're not involved in the process at all. So if this initiative moves forward and Realtors BC is formed, Realtors BC will be formed with the boards that opt in, and the boards that didn't opt in will stay where they are with the resources that they have and continue to operate the way that they do.
And how does that affect them with BCREA?
Currently, basically with, as far as BCRA, like BCRA would be rolled into Realtors of BC, would be part of the same organization. The services that the non-participating boards currently receive from BCRA, which are education and advocacy to a degree, those will be continued to be provided by Realtors of BC. So the same provincial services that are provided by BCRA would be required for Realtors of BC to provide to non-participating boards.
So if we vote yes, will you allow these boards that have stepped out, like Chilliwack and so forth, will you allow them back in to be part of the discussion? If they do a quick vote themselves, will you allow them in to be part of the whole again?
So the process of how we got to the boards that are participating was pretty onerous, and one of the big considerations was due diligence. And any time where you're dealing with a merger and acquisition, which is not an acquisition, but anytime you're dealing with a merger of this sort, it's our responsibility to make sure that the people that work, or the organizations that we're considering amalgamating with, are financially sound, financially and legally sound. So a big part of the process, as Brent alluded to, when some of the other boards that opted out, when the vote date was changed, it also factored in that as a requirement to be part of the vote and the amalgamation, each board had to initiate their own financial and legal due diligence. So basically opening up the books and going through every single contract, financial statements, to ensure that nobody's in a position that would be detrimental to amalgamate with. The non-participating boards did not do that. So we don't have that information. So we are not in a position to say, well, we go ahead and vote yes, well, now you can come in. Like on short order, no, they haven't participated in that process. The anticipation is, always has been, this is, you know, the desire is to be a completely provincial organization. Once the amalgamation process is actually complete, you know, as you can imagine, amalgamating 7 different organizations, will take a certain amount of physical time. That's priority number 1. Once that's done, organization is up and running and operating the way that we want it to. Will there be an opportunity to look at our boards if they were them at that point, which I honestly believe some will want to come on board? Then we'd be in a position to likely go with it then. So not on day 2, but likely down the line.
And the irony of the whole thing about having a handful of boards back away from the process, the reason they backed away were basically the results of not being together in the first place. With the delayed vote and a few other things we were trying to get in place, they weren't comfortable moving forward at that point in time. Keep in mind, if you are any history buffs out there, Confederation of Canada was in 1867 and only 4 provinces joined at that time. And as far as percentages go, we're way ahead of that. BC didn't join until 1871, I believe, and Alberta didn't come in until after 1900. So the only way you can get an amalgamation like this going is piecemealing at the start. It would have been nice to have the other 4 boards stay, but they're not in, but we still have 86%.
The Victoria Board has a history of, some might say, progressive initiatives over the years, and yet they stepped away from this initiative right away. Did they give any reasons why?
You know what, we come back and forth and get asked a lot about, you know, why did the other boards step away, why did the other boards step away, and just like, you know, the idea that Victoria boards had a lot of progressive ideas over the years, as has Fraser Valley, as has Vancouver, as has Comrade. Every board has had a culture with different, you know, there's different perspectives on how progressive that they've been. There's different personalities at the table, bottom line, and the Victoria board made their decision, and as did the other boards for the other organizations. It wouldn't be right for me to tell you why they stepped away. You know, if you're interested in talking to the Victoria board, they'll be happy to talk to you for sure. But in the end, anytime you have a group of 11, and keep in mind, 11 boards, it's not even 11 boards, it's 11 boards and 11 boards of directors. There's over 130 some odd directors that are, you know, representing their boards across the province. An expectation to get everybody to agree, at the beginning especially, it's tough. So the only reason this makes sense to move forward even at this point is we do have the majority of members represented in this. If we didn't have the majority of members in BC have their boards of directors supporting it, it wouldn't move forward.
I think I'd like to see something a little more candid along the line of what Victoria is. Victoria has an enormous sense that they have a great system for everything, and they probably do. I think when you get past Victoria, just as an example, we listed my mother-in-law's apartment in Chilliwack. When I say we went to a local realtor and listed it. And she sent the contract to me because I'm kind of helping my mother-in-law. She's quite elderly. The contract was different than what we have out here. And to me, that was a light bulb. There are so many practices we have across the province that we don't share because we all do our own thing. OMRED has lots of good ones. We can learn from other areas. And the best way to get that in is to get us all under one envelope, one umbrella, so that we can actually start to share best practices. I can't imagine how it would be a detriment to know some of the other real good qualities that other boards are doing, that we can share it. What better way to make us stronger as a province?
Well, I think Brett answered a little bit of my question here, but you know, if we move on with the new model, what have you guys actually looked at any other places in the country or in the States where they actually went with that model and they had successes or challenges? And if they are, what are they?
I don't think you're going to find any of it in the States.
Well, I can speak to that.
Yeah.
So early in the process, yes. As a matter of fact, through what you will see on your timeline is phase 1, when there was an analysis of what makes sense and what operating model. there was a global search done for different real estate models. So we don't have many examples in Canada. We have a couple that are for different reasons than what BC is going through of consolidation. In the US, this is becoming a big trend. And so there are a number of really big regionalizations down there, but their model is a little bit different. So it's also difficult to compare to. But we also compare to models, for example, in New Zealand, who has a very strong real estate sort of structure to look at other opportunities. So in the early days, in terms of supporting whether or not this was a good idea, all of that background research was included. And it was also included in the journey of discovery research that was done, which predicated this process. So just to let you know.
I want to touch on one more thing. Wade and I go to NAR every year. Been there for 15, 18 years now. Organized real estate in the US is light years behind where we are. We don't have Realtor.ca as an example. Realtor.com is privately owned. There is no standardized MLS. They've got a long ways to go to catch up to where Canadian real estate is from an organization perspective.
And having run businesses out of Baltimore when I was down in the States, the real difference is our entire country goes east-west for the most part. In the States, it's east-west, north-south, and it adds a whole different dynamic to doing anything like that.
Christine?
Isn't Quebec kind of that model? Like I was a realtor in Quebec, it's all the same, like it's one board, one.
It is. Quebec has a federation model, so it's a little bit different, but they still do have individual boards, although they have a federation that provides different services. So without detail, I'd say Quebec's a bit of a hybrid between Canada and the US, but they're a good example of what consolidation looks like and what one united voice looks like.
Paul?
Forgive me, I'm a new realtor, so.
Everyone stand up. It's a really big room.
Good morning, everyone. Forgive me, I'm a new realtor, so I don't know the history as well as a lot of you do. And of course, this is pretty important, I think, to my future and the future of a few other people in this room. So when you say the model that we have is now archaic, and then Francis says that it's light years ahead of the States, and then we talk about this model, forgive me, I'm a picture kind of guy. I'd like to see what is the model that we're going to move to. Like, what is it? Sure. Aside from all the boards getting together and saying, my contract's better than your contract. No, what is the model?
Great question. So, I mean, the existing model right now is 11 individual boards around the province. Each board is responsible for providing services to their members. Like we provide services to our members. And each board does everything. Back office financials, entering membership data, basically everything kind of required to run an association or business quite for that matter. The model that's being proposed is, instead of having that, and I'll step back from the 11 back to the 6 that are actually participating, is all the things that each board currently does exactly the same, of which there are many, because we're all providing services for realtors who, for the most part, need the same things. All the things that are being replicated 6 times in those 6 boards would be done central. There would be a central office that would do all of the back office functions of any business or organization that would normally be done at a head office, kind of like. And then there would be branch offices located regionally, specifically to provide the services for members directly member-facing. So right now we've got a board staff of 9 or 10 that rarely leave the office because they're typically tied to doing the functions of the organization that are required for them to sit at their desk and do it, including financial information, including doing interboard listings, etc. The idea with centralizing those back office functions and having a branch office provide those services directly for realtors is that all of the staff that would be located at a branch office, likely a branch office here, would be solely there to provide member-facing services. So to have the opportunity, instead of being tied to the desk doing back office functions, keeping the lights on in the building, it would be the opportunity to engage and interact and provide services directly to the membership. So it's, again, just a reallocation of where the resources are. Right now, they're replicated in every single office. In this model, it's done centrally. The things that can be done and be done most effectively centrally would be. The things that need to be regionally delivered would be done that way as well.
How about a system where we have 10 new realtors at Royal LePage and have yet to really delve into the MLS way to use it? Jen Hansen comes in and does a one day or whatever is required orientation and training on that. We can't do that today. We want to be able to free up those people that are really good at what they do to be able to come out and make us better at what we do.
So Paul, on a higher level, correct me, Lynette, because I'm not as good as you with this. This is our structure. Forget licensing, that's done by our province, okay? Everybody that's in Canada belongs to the Canadian Real Estate Association. Okay, there's about 110,000 realtors in the country. I've been licensed for just under 30 years. I can't tell you really what they do. Political lobbying. So probably the biggest thing that we've seen in our industry that they've done in the last decade is fight with the competition. Okay, on our behalf, done a great job. Okay?
Realtor.ca.
What's that? Realtor.ca. Okay, so those are the two major things that they do. I couldn't tell you who the president is, and I couldn't tell you who any of the presidents were in the last 20 years. BCREA, to be part of CREA, you have to be part of BCREA. Okay? Approximately 22,000 members in the province, all right? And then OMREB has to belong to BCREA. Now, there are provincial associations in every single province, so they all have different names. And then OMREB, as I said, belongs to the BCREA. There are over 100 boards in Canada, and they range in size from Powell River at the smallest at 29. 26 now, they've lost a couple people. To Toronto, which would have in excess of 30,000.
45.7 last week.
45.7. So that's your breakdown. And to get to BCREA, there are a number of seats. Can you tell me how many seats there are at BCREA? 12 seats at BCREA. We share a seat in our board with the Kootenays, South Okanagan, and Kamloops, right?
They've moved away from a representative governance model, and so there are 12 board members who are elected from, you all have an opportunity to elect every board member at BCREA now, so there's no longer representation.
So Powell River doesn't no longer have a seat at the table per se.
Correct.
Okay, well that's a good change because that drove me crazy. Does that answer it a little bit, Paul? Does that give you the structure?
Although I will say at BCREA, so BCREA is a little bit different. That's the board of directors election. When it comes to deciding, and this comes back to Brent's point, and this is really, in my view, speaks to the archaic structure. So we have this middle level called BCREA, who a lot of you are probably even saying, well, you know, the stuff Brent was talking about, isn't that BCREA's job to lobby on our behalf? I'm seeing some nodding heads. You could argue that, but here's how BCREA gets their direction on what to do and how to lobby. BCREA's members are the individual boards when it comes to voting on issues, not the governance structure, but when it comes to voting on issues. So for example, on December 7th, when BCREA's vote happens, so the boards vote on December 6th for ROBC, BCREA votes on December 7th. The way those votes occur is every board is a member of BCREA. You aren't all individual members. OMREB as a board is a member. The way the votes are cast at BCREA is weighted. So for every 500 members or portion thereof, a board gets one vote. So OMREB, because we have just about 1,200 members now, if we get over 1,200, we'll have 4 votes. But right now we have 3 votes at the table. Vancouver has, out of the 37, I think they have 28 votes. So that's how the voting occurs at BCREA. It's weighted based on membership level. So you're not wrong to say Powell River doesn't have, they have a vote in this instance. So for the BCREA vote, Powell River has 1 vote, Kootenays, Kamloops, SORED have 1 vote. We have 3, Fraser Valley has 6. Victoria, Vancouver Island each have 3, and Vancouver has 26, I believe.
So how many are there total votes?
I think there are 37. And now don't forget, those change based on the percentage of numbers, right? So Vancouver just went over 13,000, so they get another vote. Fraser Valley went over 3,500, so they get another vote.